improve students' chances of getting into college. And I really like to use this title, From Ordinary to Extraordinary, because that is something we'll talk about throughout this seminar as well as all our future seminars. So let me see. I'm having a bit of a problem. Can you guys still see my screen? Okay, good. All right, so a quick introduction who I am. So I'm the CEO of Radiant Journey, and Radiant Journey is a relatively new consulting company, but we've been around for a long time, me and my team, previously at Perceiver Education and prior to that, USDS. So it's been about a little bit more than 10 years. Also, I was a former admissions officer at Berkeley and a tennis coach. So I think I'm pretty good at working with kids and also teaching. In addition to that, I'm also CEO of the nonprofit organization called Real Impact. It's a student-run organization where we provide platform and opportunities and support for students to do community service and things that they care about that can have a real impact on the society and in their community. And finally, prior to getting into education, I spent about 2 decades in Fortune 100 companies in management positions as well as consulting. And myself, I went to UCLA and both for undergrad and graduate school. All right, so I'd like to start today. I'm not sure why it's not working. All right, I'd like to start today off with just a little story, okay? I recently received an email, and this is a real email. I'm not gonna go through the whole thing, but it's basically a parent telling me about his son who has a 4.2 GPA, multiple AP classes, volunteering throughout high school, 4 years of football, and he was very surprised that his son was rejected by Berkeley, UCLA, UC Irvine, Santa Barbara, Davis, and San Diego. And so he recently took his son up to UC Santa Cruz to take a look at that school and potentially commit to that school. And so this is a very common thing that I'm hearing from a lot of parents. You know, why is my son or daughter who has good grades, have done what they think they should have done in high school, play sports, volunteering, join clubs, do this, do that, and still getting rejected from top schools? So I want to start by answering this question by just looking at the UC system. So this is data from last year's, and I use Irvine High School, but you can use any high school, and take a look at, you know, what was the GPA of all the people from that high school that applied to the different UCs, and what were the GPAs of people who were admitted and who actually enrolled. And if you look, actually, you know, Berkeley, the average GPA that was accepted was 4.25, Davis 4.20, Irvine 4.19, UCLA 4.25, and so on, right? So why did this student with a 4.2, which is right at the average, got rejected from all of the schools except for Merced, Riverside, and Santa Cruz? And I wanted to answer this question with a story. And Jaden might know this story, but it's one of my previous students, Caitlin, who worked with me a couple years back. And she had a 4.2 GPA. But in her high school of, I guess, a graduating class of around between 600 and 700 people, she was ranked about 150, 160 in that range. So there was 150 students that had a GPA higher than a 4.2. And I looked up for her school. Each year they send about 20 to 30 students to Berkeley. But that year we were able to help Caitlin get an offer from Berkeley. So then the question is, why did somebody with a 4.2 GPA get accepted, while others with a 4.2 GPA or higher did not. So taking a look at other trends, so not just the UCs, when we look across the country, one of the top trends that we're seeing is that more top schools are becoming more competitive. So before, people just think, oh, the Ivy Leagues, Stanford, MIT, those are very competitive. But actually, it's not just the top 10 anymore. It's top 20, top 30, more and more schools like NYU, BU, Northeastern, not just UCLA and Berkeley, but now UC San Diego, UC Irvine. A lot more schools are more competitive. And what used to be target schools, what used to be safety schools are no longer. The other trend that we're seeing is that standardized tests are back. So last year, more and more students are applying with SAT scores, and the scores are also, again, very competitive. And more people are applying in earlier rounds. So in a lot of the top schools, a third to a half of the class is already filled by the time the regular round comes around. So what does all this mean for you? Well, it means that if you're going to try to apply for a top university, got to prepare and apply early. You can't wait till junior year and senior year to start thinking about college. You need to have smart goals and a good strategy and a plan. So just starting early is not enough, but you got to be focused, and you got to be able to have a good execution against your plan. And you have to be able to find ways to gain meaningful accomplishments and experiences. And finally, you have to develop stronger communication skills, because part of the application process is writing essays, doing interviews, etc. So you got to be able to communicate well. Okay, so how did my students do? Well, like I said, Radiant Journey is a new company. So last year, I didn't take that many students because I didn't have a team, and it was just me. But I think overall, we did pretty well. We got offer letters from Caltech, UCLA, Berkeley, Davis, Yale, Johns Hopkins, Vanderbilt, Bernard, Columbia. And over the past years, more of the same. So a lot of my students have gone into top schools across the country. So let me turn the mic over to a couple of students. So we have Brandon here with us, who got into UCLA, will be going there next year. Jaden, who will be going to Caltech, and they will share a little bit of their story in terms of their application experience. All right, so I'm gonna unshare my screen. Okay, go ahead, Brandon.
Okay. Hello, I'm Brandon Chang. I'm a senior from Irvine High School, and in the fall, I'll be attending UCLA. Some stats about me: I got a 1560 SAT score, and during high school, I took 10 AP classes. My GPA was a 4.0 unweighted and a 4.52 weighted. In my free time, I like baking, working out, running, and music. And then on the bottom is a picture. That's my husky named Dakota. So one of the biggest parts of my application was my involvement in music. I played trumpet throughout high school. I originally started in 5th grade, but I wasn't very good going into high school. However, after lots of practice, I had a musical background in piano, so that helped a lot. So with a lot of practice, I was able to advance into higher positions in my school's ensembles, including Winston Principal Trumpet, Jazz Band Lead Trumpet, and I performed for my school's musical pit orchestra. And then eventually I was able to also join groups outside of school, like the District Honor Band and the All-State and All-Southern honor bands. And then another big part of my application was my experiences as a marching band section leader. So being a section leader, it's a great thing to put on your activities list. It shows your leadership skills, but what I learned was that being a great leader isn't only about like what's expected of you on paper, but it's being more than a leader. It's doing things outside of what they want you to do. So for example, I would have to always like take attendance, teach my section had a march, but the experiences outside of those responsibilities I was able to include in my college application essays. For example, there was a flute player that was interested in joining our trumpet section, so I would go to school early to give them trumpet lessons, and now they're interested in continuing trumpet in college. Taking deep breaths alongside a kid, he was feeling very overwhelmed during band camp, and I was able to pull him aside and take deep breaths along with him and help him calm down. And also organizing a game day during band camp to make it a little more fun. So these little stories I feel like they were a great way to showcase your leadership and social and communication skills. And they're also a great thing to talk about in your college essays. Another little point, music and arts related activities are very subjective. So in order to show college admissions officers your talent, then you should try performing in competitions or getting awards that can showcase this talent. Another thing I did was called Concerts for Cause. It was a club that I led, and I was able to bridge my passion for music and medicine and combine them through this club. In this club, we would perform for senior centers and retirement homes each month, and then we would also help fundraise for local concert venues. And throughout high school, like especially in the first couple of years, I was really scared of like trying to do big things, because I always thought that like I was still just a kid, right? I couldn't do much, and if I reached out to people, they wouldn't respond to like a random high school kid. But through this club, I realized that like there's nothing to lose from reaching out to a lot of people. So there's only something to gain. So never be scared to like reach out, and don't underestimate your abilities, because you can do lots of great things even as a high schooler. And then finally, probably the strongest part of my application was research. So I applied to a lot of schools as a molecular biology major. So this kind of strengthened my biology background. So in this research over the summer, I performed various tests like cell culturing, slide preparation, conjugating antibodies, PCR, and immunostaining. And since I enjoyed biology a lot, AP biology, then putting my knowledge into real-world applications was really exciting. This really showed me what science was like outside of the classroom, and it solidified and grew my love for science. And then finally, we learned a couple of things about like biology and biotechnology in the classroom, but being able to actually work with it and learn more about the new revolutionary and modern biotech through meetings, fairs, and seminars, it really expanded my knowledge and what I knew about this subject. So my research experience allowed me to demonstrate that I was applying to a lot of schools as a pre-med. So doing research was actually allowed me to show the schools that I was genuinely committed and interested in pursuing the medical field. And this is what separated me from other pre-med students' applications. I was able to talk about my experiences in the research lab for a lot of my college application essays. And this also strengthened my application because I was able to talk about what I learned in the lab and how I really enjoyed my time there and was able to grow my knowledge. Some lessons that I learned was, especially from this research experience, was to ask a lot of questions. Like, even if you think, unless if they're really easy to search up, then you should just constantly ask questions to keep learning more, because this will demonstrate your passion and interest to other people. It will show that you actually really care about the subject. And by asking a lot of questions, especially originally I would perform just random experiments, but asking tons of questions to all the postdocs also working in the lab, I was able to grow my connections with one of them, and I eventually took part in his research publication. And the pictures on the right are some of the pictures that I took from immunostaining. Yeah, that's basically it for me.
Thank you, Brandon. That was awesome. Thanks for sharing your